What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Potomac. This is season 9 and part 1 of the reunion. And I'll say this, I feel like this is the first time in a long time that Andy was not trying to gaslight us into thinking a reunion was good when it wasn't. Because for the past couple of weeks, he has been gassing up this reunion, saying that it's actually one of Potomac's best reunions. And I feel like he not lying because I really enjoyed this part 1. Okay. The giggles and the laughs that came out of me, they were solid. So let's get into this video. Sometimes before we get into the review, we get a little spicy, just a little bit. And I just got a few things to talk to y'all about. So on Valentine's Day, which I think was Friday, Bravo dropped their teaser trailer for Bravo's Love Hotel, which is starring Giselle, Luann, Ashley, and Shannon, and it's coming soon. So I feel like that show will probably come out in maybe mid-March or like early April. But I feel like also this show is going to take the place of Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, especially if their ratings are good, because of what happened between Caroline Manzo and Brandy Glanville while they were over in Morocco. I don't think Bravo wants to touch whatever's in that legal situation with those two women. That I feel like if Love Hotel does good, we're gonna start seeing more recently divorced housewives or single housewives go on this show, because they did film it in Thailand. So it looks like if it does get picked up, they might start picking like different places for the ladies to go and vacation and all of that stuff. But I don't know. I'm not really into dating shows like that. Like Love is Blind, when it first came out, I was into it. After that, not so much. I do like The Ultimatum because that is good and messy. Good and messy. Married at First Sight isn't my cup of tea. Temptation Island, but Temptation Island in España had me in a chokehold for like 2 weeks. Montoya, I need that. That man fell out on that beach. No, he was so upset. He was rightfully, it was okay for him to be upset. And then come to find out, they both been cheating on each other while they've been on Temptation Island in España, and they still together is wild to me. Masaya had that man running across the sand, or woman, because I don't know whoever was holding that camera equipment, was sprinting behind him as he ran to that other house. Masaya, I need. Oh, that show is messy. That show is messy. But let me know if y'all are going to check this out. I probably will, just to see what it's hitting on. But I feel like we already know that Giselle and Ashley didn't find nobody, because Ashley's still with Josh, and Giselle at the end of this season, her cue card said that she started talking back to Nansom. So the only people who we probably could be surprised by if they find somebody would be Luann or Shannon. And low-key is Shannon, because Luann be picking up men like they Infinity Stones. Like, they just love them some Luann. I'd be very surprised to see Shannon hook up with somebody, to be honest. So moving on. I did the drama video, and I will put the thumbnail on the screen right now, where I talked about Ashley and her divorce being official, as well as it looks like a feud is brewing between Ashley and Wendy. So we'll see. Okay, we'll see come next season. And the last thing I want to talk about, it looks like Ashley is letting us know that she's officially divorced, because this was posted today on February the 17th, where she did a photo shoot. Shouts out to Queens of Bravo, because they're the ones that posted it, where she has a newspaper saying Ashley Darby is officially divorced. And the only picture that looks cute is her in the tub. But I don't understand when Ashley does these photo shoots. Who is this for? It has to be for her, because no one cares that you got divorced from this man. It's been taking you 3 years. Like, the excitement is gone, Ashley. It's gone. But shouts out to you and your pictures. So the episode opens up, and mind you, like I said in the intro, Andy did not gaslight us this time. This actually was a good first part. Okay, low-key, way more entertaining than the season. So It opens up and the screen is littered with all of these headlines saying that Karen was convicted of her DUI. And so we then get this video of Karen at her home during Christmas time looking clearly distraught, okay, and mortified, like just disheveled and everything. And she's breaking down, basically saying that she takes accountability for the part that she played in her DUI. She also said, I'm not worried about myself, I'm worried about my family, because she basically makes it known that they're upset and they're hurt by this situation. I know her oldest son was probably giving Karen the blues, giving Karen the blues. Um, and so she ends up saying that, she doesn't think she has a drinking problem because there's a producer at the house asking her these questions, and she was like, no, I don't think I'm an alcoholic. And then she ends up saying, like, I have a lot of people that look up to me and call me like Auntie Karen or Grand Dame, and honestly, like, y'all should do as I say, not as I do. So then while this video is going on, they're feeding in the body cam footage. When I tell you my stomach was in knots, because that stuff gives me such horrible secondhand embarrassment, and it makes me cringe so hard, like my back gets tense. Like, I was like, girl, the lady already shamed enough. Like, that is forever out there on her. Like, that is so embarrassing, bro. So embarrassing. And as Karen's doing the video, they're feeding in the body cam footage. I still don't understand why Karen, I know for a fact they saw that footage because they were trying to get it thrown out, didn't just take a plea deal if they gave her one, or just didn't have a private meeting with the judge and just accepted her fate. Because, girl, you said you was lit when you almost slipped out the cop car when they took you to the police station. In the cop car, you said I should have took a cab. You already knew it was like, girl, you knew, Karen, and your ego got too big, and it basically is the downfall of like what you're going through now, because are getting exposed everywhere. They exposed you in real life and they exposed you on the show. Like, this season was not a good look for you, girl. It really wasn't. So the camera goes black. Now, I will say this. Karen saying that she doesn't think she's an alcoholic. Girl, if you don't think you're an alcoholic, you definitely got a problem with alcohol. We just gonna have to call a thing a thing. Now, where I think Karen is feeling like she isn't an alcoholic is because it doesn't seem like Karen needs to drink every single day. And when you put in context of what a lot of people think about people who are alcoholics, it's like someone who wakes up in the morning drinking all throughout the day. And I think about Shannon. Shannon on Real Housewives of Orange County after her DUI was drinking every single episode. And people got mad at Tamara for calling it out, mainly because they felt like Tamara was doing too much. But if what Tamara was saying was true, that Shannon would call her drunk and do all this other stuff, then Tamara, to a certain extent, had a right to keep pointing out, like, girl, every time we go somewhere, you drinking. And then, like Gina said, I'm not drinking anymore. Like, me and you could have been sober buddies, but you didn't take her up on that offer. But because Shannon took accountability, people gave her more grace with the way that she behaved on the show. The difference is Karen didn't take accountability, and she was trying to run this narrative that she was going to be vindicated. But I'll give her a sliver of grace that Karen didn't drink the whole entire season until the last episode at the dog show. So that does show that she has some type of self-control, but it doesn't negate that, girl, you do have a problem, because to get that plastered, that white girl wasted, yeah, girl, you got a problem. You definitely have a problem. So the screen goes black, and it's 3 weeks, and it's time for them to film the reunion. So we see all the girls pull up to the station. They're all in their dressing rooms. We see Stacy go to Ashley's room, and they're both like, is Karen here? Because I don't see a door with her name on it. And Ashley's like, well, she better be here because, girl, she got a lot to answer for. Like, she has been lying for the past 3 weeks. And I said, girl, the same way you've been lying for the past 3 years about this divorce, let's keep it cute, Ashley. And Stacy's like, yes, she does have some things to answer for. Side note, Stacy's hair look a fool, and Ashley does too. I don't understand why Ashley didn't keep on the hair that she had while she was like waiting for the girl to do her hair in the back, because you see somebody behind her, like, bumping the bang for the wig that she wore on stage with the outfit. And I said, girl, it still looked bad. I'm sorry to whoever was bumping that bang. I am. And then Stacy's wig was too shiny. I said, girl, I'm a synthetic girl. I have a couple of human hair wigs and some synthetic wigs. And girl, Stacy's wig didn't even have a part. And I'm like, how much money are you paying for these wigs, Stacey? Because the synthetic wigs low-key be outdoing the human hair wigs nowadays. So I'm just like, you couldn't drop like a good $60 or $70 on a good synthetic. And I will tell you, for the girls that wear synthetic, if you don't want your hair to look shiny like Stacey's did every time she was on stage and that light hit it and it was like blinding, get a what's it called, a dryer sheet, and just rub the top of your wig. It takes away the sheen. I learned that from somebody on YouTube like years ago, and it has worked every single time for me. Just want to throw that out there. It makes it look more natural. So we then see Kiana do the same, and she goes to Wendy's room being like, is Karen here? And they're like, I don't know. So then Wendy tries to call Karen, and it goes straight to voicemail. And Wendy's kind of taking it back because she was like, Karen should be here because we were all riding for her. And now you not here to defend yourself, or at least like apologize to us for like riding for you. So we see Giselle get on the stage first, and she does look really good. Okay, y'all. Now, if you want to know my thoughts about all the women's outfits, I did the drama video, and I'll link it in the description box below. But my top 3 were Stacey, Wendy, and Giselle. I loved Stacey's dress even more seeing it on her on stage. I love those 3D flowers. She looked great. That hair and that makeup was a no. But the dress itself on her body looked beautiful. So Giselle's the first one to get on stage. Then Ashley is walking up complaining about the bunion on her foot. I think then there's Wendy, then Kiana, then Stacey, and then Mia's the last one to get on stage. Now, mind you, Mia trips getting up on the stage because it's elevated. And Giselle was like, that's about right. And I said, ooh. And I said, oh, Giselle about to be on her neck all reunion. And I'm here for it, okay? So Mia sits down. They're all talking about Giselle and her stiletto nails. Mind you, those are from the Nicki Minaj nail collection that Giselle had on. And I will say this. I think Giselle's in a new era because her daughters are no longer living in the house. And maybe she feels more free to, have them girls out, shake them, what's, and have her nails done. But she does look really well. Like, this, to me, is the best Giselle has ever looked for a reunion, dating all the way back to season 1. Okay, so I'm happy for the lady. So they sit there, and then everyone's starting to realize, like, oh crap, like Karen really isn't showing up. They're all realizing that Karen isn't there. So Andy lets it be known that Karen was convicted for 7 out of the 8 charges for her DUI, and that currently she's in a rehab facility. So Giselle is like, okay, that's great, but I wish she would have went sooner before all of this happened. So then Wendy makes a statement where she's like, I'm kind of questioning the timing of all of this. Like, are you in rehab because you feel like there's a problem, or are you in rehab because you want to lessen the blow of the sentencing? So Kiana kind of makes a face, kind of irritated with Wendy, and so does Giselle. And then Stacey ends up speaking up, just being like, well, why are we questioning why she went? Can we just give her grace about going? Like, why can't we just give her grace about that? So then Ashley and Wendy are like, well, I don't think it's wrong for us to question her. Wendy is up kind of like checking Stacey, being like, you do this a lot where you try to like advocate for Karen, but the truth of the matter is, we have valid questions, and there's nothing wrong with people who are your friends asking you those questions. And to a certain extent, I do agree with Wendy. Like, if I'm your friend and I peep something, I should be able to question you about it. But I also get kind of where Stacey's coming from, where it's like, girl, can we just be glad she in rehab after watching that body cam footage? Because, girl, y'all know she need to be on somebody's couch in a 90-day program. All right. So then Giselle kind of ends up piping up, being like, anybody would do what she's doing. And Andy even agreed, being like, yeah, I do it too. So then Wendy was like, yeah, no, I can't knock the hustle. I can't knock the hustle. And let me tell y'all this. I understand people want Karen to take accountability. Now, accountability looks different from different people, but at the end of the day, y'all, we don't know that lady. We are not the judge and the jury. Like, we're not. Like, I'm going to keep it a buck. Do I think Karen should have been at the reunion? Yeah, I do think she should have been at the reunion. But if there was a possibility for her sentencing to get lessened because she took herself to rehab, then I would have been like, girl, you're stupid for going to the reunion if there was a possibility for you to get a lesser sentence. Because I feel like fans are being willfully obtuse, because if we found out that Karen went to the reunion when she could have went to rehab and the judge would have lessened her sentence, everybody would have been talking cash money, you know what, about her going to a reality TV show reunion instead of going to rehab. Like, let's keep it a buck. Okay, let's be honest for once, y'all. On top of that, if she would have came to that reunion, the dig the whole entire night would have been like, why aren't you at rehab? Why aren't you at rehab? You don't think you need to go to rehab? You don't think you have a problem? Well, she's actively going to rehab. And again, whether or not she's going to rehab because this is going to lessen her sentencing or if she has a problem, that doesn't matter to me. I'm hoping that if Karen went to rehab, she actually listened to what them people said to her. Like, legit, because maybe in rehab she actually realized, like, no, girl, I got a problem. There are issues that need to be dealt with for the reason why I was drinking so heavily and doing what I was doing. I don't know, but I just feel like people are, again, being willfully obtuse about her going to rehab. I just think they are. So next thing you know, Ashley pulls out Karen's photo where she says she knew Karen probably wasn't going to show up, and she pulls it out. Now, mind you, I thought production did that. Ashley probably secured her spot for season 10 for that photo, because that's some diabolical shenanigans right there to do that right there, okay? So she pulls out the picture. They all start laughing. And then Andy was like, well, Karen did send us a video. I haven't seen the video, but do you guys want us to play it? So they're like, for real? And they're like, yeah, so let's play it. So Karen is at home. She look a whole lot better this time. And she lets us know that she is checking herself into a rehab facility for mixing alcohol with antidepressants. And so everyone's kind of getting emotional on stage except for Wendy. Giselle is already like tearing up because Karen ends up saying, like, Giselle, I really appreciate you sending me flowers with that letter, talking about one step at a time. She shouts out Kiarna. She shouts out Jazzy. Jazzy not even on stage. And then she shouts out Candace. Mind you, when she says Candace's name, Giselle's face went, she still don't see it for Candace. I said, girl, stay mad. Stay mad. Mia even was like, oh, and the whole time they were going through like the names that Karen was saying, the camera kept panning to Wendy to see if she was gonna say Wendy's name. Girl, she gagged me and gagged Wendy because she did not say Wendy's name. She ended it off by saying, and a special thanks to Andy Cohen. And then she says in the video, I'm gonna return to the show as Karen Huger, not the Grand Dame. So Andy ends up saying, like, I think what I can take away from this is that she says she's coming as Karen Huger and not the Grand Dame. So then Giselle, visibly emotional, is just kind of like, because Andy's like, why are you so emotional? She was like, because I love her. She was like, as much as we fight, I love her. I love her, and I really do hope that she gets better. So then Andy ends up asking Wendy, like, how are you feeling? Because you kind of look a little uncomfortable. Now, mind you, when Karen said Andy's name, Andy was even gagged that she said his name. I said, kiss up to the boss, because you don't want to lose that job, Karen. And so Wendy's like, I don't want to make this about me. This is about her healing. But like, I've been there for Karen, and for her not to say my name, this lets me know that is not my friend right there. Like, well, girl, why didn't you believe that what we were saying? Like, I've been telling you since season 5 that Karen don't see it for you. And they show flashbacks of times where Giselle was trying to tell Wendy, like, that lady don't see it for you. And Wendy ends up being like, well, Giselle, we weren't in a good place, so that's why. And that's a viable response. Like, girl, I'm not cool with you. I'm not going to believe you. So then they move over, and Giselle ends up saying how Karen is a great friend off the show. Like, Karen off the show is a good, fun time. You know what I'm saying? And then Andy reiterates that pretty much what he took away from that video is that she's going to show up as Karen Huger, not the Grand Dame. And Andy loves a good redemption story for a housewife. So Karen definitely has a way back into this show. Now is she gonna play her hand right? I don't know. But it definitely feels like her not acknowledging Wendy was setting up the feud between her and Wendy. But it also seems like Wendy gonna have an issue with Ashley because Ashley seems like she already setting up her feud with her. So Wendy gonna be working next season, okay? So Mia ends up saying, well, I always knew she was guilty. That's why I was saying in Lake Norman she needed to get help. And everyone's kind of looking at Mia like, girl, you weren't saying that for her to get help. You don't like, we know you don't like her, and that was a dig. I think even Kiana was like, yeah, girl, don't do that. But here's the thing, and y'all might not like what I'm about to say, but that's okay. You can respectfully disagree, but I don't feel bad for Wendy. Do I think it was wrong for Karen not to acknowledge her, especially if Wendy has been showing up for Karen? Yeah, like she should have acknowledged the lady. But I've always felt like their friendship was a friendship of convenience and strategy more than anything. That's why the thumbnail always says Potomac of Thrones, because everybody on that stage is playing this game, okay? They are trying to make sure that they stay on Real Housewives of Potomac as long as they can to keep this Bravo check, and will do what they have to do to keep it. We seen Giselle do it this season, and we seen Wendy do it this season. So I'm like, I don't feel bad because I've always felt this way. And I know some of y'all have gone on my playlist, my Real Housewives of Potomac playlist, and y'all watch my old reviews about Real Housewives of Potomac, because I think I started reviewing during season 6. Was it season 6? I feel like it was season 6. And y'all were like, oh my gosh, Leah, you're so harsh on Wendy. I like Wendy, but I think Wendy's corny. And I think she's a people pleaser. And I think she is very much, she very much wants the group to like her, that she will concede to like group think. And that's just what it is. And the way that she tries to play like she's not, maybe next season we'll definitely see that she's not on that type of time, because, you know, she seems like she's way more confident and wanting to stand on her own. But previous seasons, Wendy definitely had that group think mentality and wanted to be liked by fans. Because I like Wendy season 5. When Wendy was being an educational elitist, I was like, girl, get in that bag. Like, none of these women have 4 degrees. None of them girls know what it's like to be in professional school. So if you want to rub it in their face, do so, because I would do the same. Like, it's not my fault. All you did was lay on your back. That's not my fault. I got an education. And I was okay with that, but Wendy could not handle all the fans coming at her. And I know that's a lot. But I always gave Wendy the side eye when they were in Williamsburg season 6 and she was crying, talking about Karen poured into her. And I said, this is the same Karen who said you wasn't the look of Potomac, which that's telling, because, girl, there's a huge African, like, immigration and first gen, like, culture in the DMV area. So I said, what are you talking about, Karen? When she tried to ignore you and act like she ain't know you, but yet she poured into you, and we never heard about them having an off-camera conversation. Like I said, Wendy, what is this? What is this? And shouts out to this Twitter user who goes by the name of BEZ184, who said, Wendy, Ashley orchestrated the NECA beef / Osu storyline. Giselle relentlessly tried to ice you out of the group. Mia tried to physically fight you, and you expect me, and you made nice with all of them since. But you expect me to believe you're going to stand on business with Karen? And that's the thing. Like, I'm not about to get my feelings involved in this. Like the way that I saw some people really angry about this, where they're like, yeah, Karen deserves 2 years in prison because of the way she treating Wendy. I said, girl, y'all tripping. Y'all tripping. Because this was definitely a strategic friendship. Wendy got dragged through the mud season 5. There was a lot of transphobic and xenophobic, like, harassment thrown that lady's way. She decided to be friends with Karen because Karen was a fan favorite. Karen was willing to be friends with Wendy because, one, she was trying to beat them colorism allegations. So she decided to click up with Candace and Wendy, which if I was Candace, I'd never click up with Karen because, girl, you tried to get me fired, okay? But you did anyway. On top of that, Karen rode so hard for Monique, even though she tried to act like she was straddling the fence when she really wasn't, that when Monique didn't return for season 6, she was pretty much on an island by herself. The only reason why Ashley slithered her way out of that is because she's a snake and she's always going to be loyal to the Green Eye Bandits. And also, Wendy and Karen had a common enemy, which was Giselle and Robin. They were friends because they had a common enemy. It was never a mutual friendship where they actually talked out their differences and came to some type of resolution. So I don't feel sympathy. I don't. Like, was it wrong for Karen not to acknowledge her, especially if, Wendy did something? Again, yeah, that was messed up. But it is what it is, girl. And like this Twitter user said, if you can get over the fact that Mia tried to assault you, low key she did. She hit you upside the head with her purse and threw a drink at you, and y'all were showing each other's your punanis afterwards. If Ashley, who's been playing in your face since season 5, worse than Karen, I might say, because the stuff Karen was doing was behind the scene. Ashley called you ferocious, said you was like really been on your neck, but you always are like, I'm so proud of you, Ashley. And we always seen you trying to be cool with Giselle to a certain extent. Giselle was the one that didn't want to move forward with you, but if Giselle would have been willing to move forward with you during season 7, you would have took it. So I'm not about to get my feelings involved in this and be angry. I'm just not. I'm not. It's all about Wendy, where they show the B-roll footage of her and Giselle having a conversation, her 40th birthday, her quitting John Hopkins, and going to the White House. So the first thing Andy ends up asking is like, well, girl, why'd you quit John Hopkins? She ends up saying that she quit the school mainly because she was tired of trying to conform to the idea of what the school wanted as a professor. So she was like, I'm turning 40, a new year, new me, might as well leave. So she felt very liberated with that. We then get more information about the sit down that she had with Giselle. I know I talked about it in my spicy corner, but she reiterates again that, girl, the conversation was 2 hours long. And she even said that on Twitter when people were asking her. So she's like, yeah, like me and Giselle had a long conversation and I detailed all of my grievances with her. So then Giselle ends up saying that was the first time she feels like her and Wendy actually heard each other. So she was appreciative of the conversation. She ends up saying that she likes Wendy. She feels like Wendy's very articulate and she's cool with her. Wendy says, Giselle is funny and I'm going to give her that. Everybody laughed about it, but you can definitely tell that Andy seems happy that Giselle and Wendy are no longer arguing back and forth about this situation. So we continue. They then start talking to her about Happy Eddie and how well that's going and things of that nature. And Giselle is just like, girl, you might need to tap on your friend Stacy's shoulder, because don't be surprised if Stacy ends up with a new like cannabis line. So everyone's like, what? You got Kiana being like, ooh, and Wendy's like, what? And so Andy, before they got into this piece, was asking the girls like, who has tried Happy Eddie and how is Happy Eddie going? Kiana and Stacy both acknowledge that they've tried the products, and Wendy ends up saying that they're doing really well in the cannabis business. And so when Giselle reveals this information, everyone's like, girl, what? And Wendy even tells Stacy, like, girl, I hope you're not doing that. I hope you're not trying to play in my face like that. I hope you're not trying to play in my face like that. And Stacy's like, I don't know what you're talking about, Giselle. And Giselle's like, you really don't know what I'm talking about, Stacy? For real, for real? And Stacy's like, no, Giselle, I don't know what you're talking about. So Giselle ends up being like, so Stacy, you didn't have a conversation or took business meetings with somebody who says that you are basically saying that you're a celebrity, because they were questioning you, being like, why would they partner with you? And you're like, because I'm a celebrity. You got Ashley in the amen section being like, Miss Stacy. Now, some people said that she was saying Stacy, but I just thought she was saying Stacy's name twice. Now, I'm not gonna lie, Stacy is a great business name for a cannabis line. Like, it's a great name for cannabis, but it's a great name to market like a storefront by. Okay. And so Giselle's like, Wendy, I'm just letting you know, if she pop out with that, then you heard it from me. Stacy is looking like she don't know what Giselle is talking about. But I'm not gonna lie, I think Stacy is sneaky. I don't like the way that she flipped on Karen. And I don't like the whole, like, I'm a Valley girl, but you can tell that Detroit is in her, and Stacy isn't being who Stacy really is, especially when we met her friend AJ, and AJ was like, yeah, girl, you got real prissy since you moved to DC. So I'm just like, when we gonna see the real Stacy? But I do think Stacy is she calculated. Is she a little sneaky, okay? And after this, Giselle was on Stacy's neck. And I said, Giselle, Let her breathe. Because some people were saying Giselle does this to everybody, and she does. But there was like an extra piece to it that I heard. This was on, the internet streets, that something might have happened behind the scenes between Giselle and Stacey that we might hear for part 2 and part 3. Now, I don't know how true that is, but that's what the people on Twitter were saying. But I said, I don't know. All I know is I was tickled by the way that Giselle was on Stacey's neck. Because I was like, Giselle, get off of her. Okay. So then they talk about Karen and her taking Wendy's candle idea because, Karen was like, I got the 3 wig, Wendy got the 1 wig. So then they move over to Wendy and this whole trust and how a lot of people feel like she is being hypocritical by demanding all of these educational things from her children when it seems like she never wanted to be a doctor. She said that multiple times, and it was something that was pushed upon her by her mother. Wendy clarifies and basically says that the trust, it has certain markers. Now, if they get a master's degree, they get more money. If they learn Igbo, which is their native tongue, they get more money. And if Wendy's daughter decides to cross, aka she gets more money. Giselle loves that, and she even says that she's going through that right now too. So I'm guessing that maybe Angel, Adore, and Grace are crossing. I don't know which one. Probably gonna be Grace because she's the oldest and she's been in school longer. Because normally I've heard, at least at my college, you weren't allowed to cross as freshmen. You had to be at least a sophomore and have a GPA. So it's Grace. But I was like, okay, cool. So they ask her about going to the White House, and Wendy says how much she cherishes that because who in office now, it's not going to look the same. And Giselle said, girl, you not lying. She not. She not. Girl, did y'all see who they confirmed for the Department of Health? We all gonna die. We all gonna die. Okay. And so they were like, well, how do you feel about bringing Karen? Well, Wendy basically says she actually regrets that she brought Karen now that they are no longer in a good place. And you see Kiana and Ashley be like, dang, like for real? Like you really feel that way? And she's like, yeah, I do regret it now. So then they move over to Kiana. Now, I like the fact that Kiana brought this up because this is what I've been saying. Kiana basically tells Stacey she doesn't like the fact that she waited until she fell out with Karen to tell Wendy this information. Stacey ends up being like, it just wasn't that one thing. I had Karen's back the whole entire time when Mia and Jacqueline were going at her at Lake Norman, and she wasn't there for me for my charity event. And I feel like that's not the same thing. It'd be totally different if Karen started to come at Stacey out the side of her neck and being disrespectful towards her. But we only saw her say like, hey, I'm going to attend your event, but I'm not walking in the fashion show. But to wait to tell that information when she pissed you off and you no longer felt like Karen was of use to you, that's why I say Stacey is sneaky, because she also didn't go directly towards Wendy. She waited and she told Mia and Ashley, 2 people that she knows Karen has issues with, so that they can kick up the dirt instead of just going straight to Wendy. So then Wendy lets it be known that Karen also has some disparaging things to say about Stacey, pretty much saying like, be careful of the new girl coming in. She's very smart. She's very like articulate. You should be weary of her. So then Giselle says, is Stacey smart? Is she? I said, oh, and she said it so quickly. And Stacey says, I don't know why she would say that. I said, Giselle. And so Stacey basically says, I have degrees. And they were like, degrees or degree? I said, girl, get off of her. Get off of her. And I think somebody was like, in what? In what? I said, y'all are too much. I said, Giselle, back up off of her. So it continues with Andy being like, well, Giselle, you did say Karen likes to meet the new girls and tell them things about the cast. Confirms what Andy is saying about Karen meeting up with the new girls and telling them things about the rest of the cast. I told y'all, this is Potomac a throne. She trying to build her team, build her fraction, build her alliances, okay? And so they show us a flashback from season 1 where Karen was trying to download Ashley about everything that was going on in Potomac and how to move in Potomac. They also show a picture of Stacey Stacey and Karen at Tally Ho. So Stacey is like, so y'all know what I'm saying about Karen is true. Now, what I find interesting is like all of a sudden Wendy has all this clarity about Karen, which I find very weird, that I'm just like, you playing in our faces though. So it's like, how do I feel bad for you when it seems like you know what the game that's going on? That's the part that is perplexing to me, because I'm like, Wendy's not stupid. So all of a sudden she has this clarity about Karen. So you knew that lady was playing in your face, girl. You knew, you just didn't think she would play in your face this hard by not congratulating you or thanking you for being there for her. That's what I'm picking up on, because how do you have all this clarity to tell Kiana to watch out for Karen, but you couldn't follow that yourself when it's clear as day that that lady has not liked you since season 5? But they move over to Kiana and they end up asking her, well, has Karen taken you to Tally Ho? And Kiana's like, I don't know the Tally or no ho. She ain't never taken me there, but we are cool. So then Kiana says, you know, Karen has a soft spot in my heart because she was the one that went to the hospital with me after what happened with the aftermath of the fight. So I'm always going to feel this way about Karen. So then Wendy ends up saying, like, Karen, if she can't mother you, then she doesn't really, like, she doesn't feel like she has use for you. So then she kind of turns on you. And I can see that. She kind of did it with Candace, so it seems like she could do that with Kiana. Now, if I was Kiana, I would take heed to what everyone is telling you and just be super cautious around Karen if you do want to maintain your friendship with her. So Wendy also points out that Karen was the only person that stood up for her mom, as well as the reason why it kind of was hard for her not to see Karen as like playing in her face or not being her friend, because when everybody was attacking her mom last season, Karen was one of the people that stood up for Wendy's mom. So, I mean, is Karen wrong? Yeah. Is she whack? Yeah, but there's still, it's duality. She still care about people to a certain extent, you know? So they move on from that and they start talking about, no, I think Andy ends up being like, well, again, Wendy, happy birthday. And she was like, yeah. And so everybody was like, okay, girl, we sick of hearing about you turning 40. So then Mia was like, Andy, she's not the only one that turned 40. I turned 40 too. So then that's when Ashley was like, yeah, and I heard you had a birthday party. I said, oh, Ashley about to be messy in Miami. And I heard it went down in Miami. And Mia's like happy face, like when she was laughing about like, yeah, I had a birthday in Miami, that face went to, I said, ooh. And then you could tell that Stacey was pissed because Stacey's face was like, I said, ooh, it's about to go down when it comes to this Miami trip. I don't know why y'all be going to Miami. It seems like Miami causes so much friction in girl groups when it's time to vacation. That's like the girlfriend, like Bermuda Triangle. People don't get out of there safely or quickly, okay? So then we see Jazzy get on stage and she's shocked that Karen isn't on stage. She's like, where Karen? She's like, Karen not here? Like girl. I say, Jazzy is on stage, and her, like I told y'all, Stacey's dress looks so much better to me, and I love it even more. Now that I saw it in motion on the show, same with Jazzy's. It's something about the shoulders. I told y'all it reminds me of the Scarlet Witch's like tiara or her mask or crown or whatever, and I just hate that her hair just didn't eat. Like, I feel like if she had like a massive fro or a massive like really, really curly wig or like wavy hair, like, but it was long and it was exaggerated, because I feel like for a dress that has that feature that's pretty exaggerated, you need big hair, not this slick back ponytail, girl. Stupid, a fool. So we find out that her boyfriend, well, fiance, Darius plays for the Dallas Cowboys now, and that pretty much she's been spending time in Dallas to Maryland, and right now they're on the off season, so they're in Maryland. We also find out that they're getting married in the summer. She has really pretty invitations. One show I do miss, I think it was called like Rich Bride, Poor Bride. I remember watching that as a kid, and I used to love watching weddings and like guessing how much things cost, because I know that velvet invitation that they're sending out, I know they spent a grip on that, okay? Because Andy opened it up like a poster board, and there was like a mirror in the middle of it, and they had everything engraved, all the information about the wedding engraved in the mirror. That is a nice invitation, okay? That's an invitation you keep. And you know how some people keep like obituaries and funeral programs. I know some people do keep wedding invitations and like graduation programs. I would have kept Jazzy's thing because I just thought it was really nice. So She's sitting on the stage, and a question from this lady Megan. Now Megan is shady. Megan is a shady lady, okay? Because she ends up asking Jazzy, like, so what really is the timeline about you and your relationship? Because what it sounds like is that you're a side chick that took somebody else's man. And maybe Mia can help on this because she was also a side chick. I said, oh, Miss Megan. Miss Megan, Miss Megan, Miss Megan. I said, oh, this is messy. So they end up showing Jazzy in the flashback trying to explain how Darius has a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. She tries to say that she's nobody's side chick. You got Kiana and Ashley looking at each other like, girl, this don't make sense. And what it boils down to is Jazzy, even if you don't think you was a side chick, girl, there was definitely overlapping. She tries to say that Darius never told her he was with somebody. She also says that the baby mama said that they weren't together. So she was like, if I'm going to be a side chick, I'm going to be a side chick to an Andy Cohen, not to Darius. But I'm like, girl, it's giving side chick. It's giving that maybe you didn't know you were a side chick. Or maybe you knew you were a side chick, but you just want to rewrite history. Either way, the story doesn't make sense, baby girl. But you getting married, so woo to you. So then they start talking about GNA and the lack thereof of fashions and the whole purpose of pivoting for Giselle's father. They also talk about the girls getting kicked out of Giselle's event and her feeling some type of way. And then all of that good stuff. So they're on stage and pretty much everyone was like, you're mad at us, but like what you did was wrong. So there was a viewer's question as well that was like, isn't it normally etiquette for if you RSVP to an event that you should go to the first event? And Giselle's like, yes. And everybody's just kind of like, well, no, because Mia ends up speaking up, and I think so did Jazzy, saying that we wanted to stop by Karen's event for a minute just to talk to her. Then we were going to spend the rest of the time with you. And that's it. Ashley chimes in and she's like, well, y'all got there at 8:03 and it was over at 9. I said, okay, like a good hour, girl, minus 3 minutes. So like they were there for 57 minutes. Like if you really needed money for the event, you would have just let them stay. But making such a hoopla was a lot, because that's why Jazzy was like, I called it gangsters and alcohol because I thought we was in trouble. You come yelling and there was a quiet way that you could have kicked us out. And everyone was like, is there a quiet way to kick you out? And she was like, yeah, she just could have asked us to leave, but not fanning over security. You know what I'm saying? Like it was messed up. It was messed up. And I get what they're saying. I think Giselle misstepped because it was just kind of like, yeah, girl, if they went to Karen's event first, that means they were only there with her for a limited amount of time and then they were rushing to come to your event. Why not just, be with them? Like that was kind of dumb in my opinion. So then they move over to Ashley. They start asking Ashley about this divorce. She tried to be like, are you going to ask me about Josh? And I said, no one cares about Josh. You the only person that cares about Josh. They show flashbacks to season, I think 7 and last season, where Andy was like, that the divorce that's not real. And she was like, well, that's not even in the forefront of my mind, Andy. But, we're not divorced yet. Wendy's like, oh, God. And she ends up saying that they did all the paperwork pretty much, and now it's up to the judge to pretty much finalize everything. But we know Ashley is now divorced, but she's not getting alimony because she signed that away in the in her prenup. And y'all, oh Lord, y'all used to act like everybody was stupid when certain people would say that Ashley wasn't getting no money. And I was one of them. I was like, Ashley's not getting money from Michael. And clear as day, she not even getting alimony. She just getting child support. They then switch over to Stacy. Stacy is waiving child support but getting alimony. Both are stupid because you should need both if you're going to have the child majority of the time, in my opinion. Then they get to Mia and her divorce. Everybody is like, they don't believe. The moment Mia's like, well, mine is the same as Ashley, it's still like, it's up to the judge. And everyone's like, girl, a lie, don't care who tell it. Everyone's like, Mia, are you really getting a divorce? Like, are you really getting a divorce? And she's like, yes. And she was so taken aback that everyone was like, bitch, you're lying. Jazzy to say her goodbyes. She ends up saying, even though she didn't appreciate the women talking negatively about her relationship, she does like these groups of women and she enjoys it being part of this friend group. I do think Jazzy should come back and just be a friend of, because I feel like she started off so strong in the beginning of the season and then withered away so completely that it was just like, girl, what happened? Now she didn't get the Millie treatment because at least she got asked to come to the reunion because, you know, mind you, she might have gotten the Millie treatment if Karen wouldn't have shown up for the reunion. But then again, if they were asking about this Miami trip, she was going to have to be there. I don't know. I just feel like maybe we might see Jazzy, and I wouldn't be like opposed to her coming back. Like, I'd be fine with it. I think she should just stay as a friend. So then Ashley being like, Jazzy, before you go, because it's almost time for her to get off the stage, she was like, when we met each other at the Christmas party, you are not too happy about what went down in Miami. So do you mind explaining to us what happened in Miami? So then Stacey is like, so we gonna talk about Miami? And Wendy said, yeah, let's talk about Miami. And when I tell you Mia looks so uncomfortable, I said, ooh, girl, they about to eat you up. Just as messy as us. Because this situation happened off camera and he was like, oh, we gonna get into the things because I want to know and I want to know too. So pretty much Jazzy explains that Mia invited her and what's her name, her and Stacey to Miami. They actually show us a text message, and I'm paraphrasing, where Mia basically says, hey guys, I want you guys to come and celebrate my 40th birthday with me in Miami. Let's live it up. Stacey responds to this saying, oh my gosh, thank you for the invite, Mia. I'll definitely be there. I'm coming. So Mia tries to say that she didn't know that they were coming because she had a point of contact. Mind you, Stacey was like a probation officer. I said, I like that kind of shade, but I know Stacey knows what PO means. So she says, no point of contact. So even though, like, this is the first lie Mia is coming up with, because even if you had a point of contact, that still falls back on you, because why would you assign somebody that's not responsible enough to let you know when your friends are rolling into town? That doesn't vibe well for you either. So Mia is just like, I didn't know that they were coming. So Stacey and Jazzy are just like, girl, you full of it. So what we find out is that Stacey and Jazzy got down to Miami and they never saw Mia. The both of them never saw Mia. So you got Ashley, Kiana, and Giselle being like, girl, what? You never saw her? That's foul. And it is, because the story that was told to me on Twitter was that Mia ghosted these women before they got to Miami, not when they were in Miami. And I feel like it's worse to ghost somebody when they're in the city for you, because that means they spent their money, they like popped a flight, bought new outfits, all to celebrate you, set up babysitters, and you ghost them like that. That's messed up. Like, you really disrespected them in their time. So Stacey is getting irritated, and so is Jazzy, because Mia is really trying to run with this narrative that, like, she didn't know they was going to be there. So then she ends up saying, well, I went to a restaurant and y'all weren't there at the club when I went to the restaurant. So then I think that's when Wendy chimes in and she was like, well, you were really late, girl, like extremely late. And I think supposedly they said that they were at dinner at 8:00 and Mia didn't get there till 11. So I would have left too. I would have got my food and left, because why would you have me sitting there for that long to celebrate you? That's disrespectful. So Mia and Stacey start arguing back and forth because Mia is trying to like justify her lies and be like, she really didn't know, and she did reach out to them and she checked up on them, she texted them, and Stacey is like, yeah, girl, I deserved a phone call, because Mia's like, well, no, I apologized and I reached out to them, you know, because it's 2025 and a text, and she was like, no, you should have called me. And I said, yeah, you should have called her. Like, that's disrespectful. So Jazzy and Stacey are just looking at each other like, girl, oh, she playing in our faces. So then Stacey starts to get real mad. Like, she's starting to get upset because she was like, girl, you're a liar. You're a liar and you're a bad friend. And so Giselle's on the other couch talking about, not the Detroit coming out. So Stacey pulls out her phone to pretty much pull up the receipts that Mia didn't know that they were there, and she pretty much ghosted them and didn't acknowledge their presence until it was too late. So Andy is kind of looking at Mia like, girl, you really did that? Because it's looking like you full of it. So then Mia pulls out her hand because she's closer to Andy to give Stacey like her phone to give to Andy. And Stacey's like, girl, don't touch my phone. Andy. Because she was like, I can't get up. Here you go. So Andy gets up and takes her phone. And so he starts to read the text message. So it starts off where Stacey is like, oh my gosh, like, thank you so much for the invite. I can't wait to see you. I'm so excited. I'm coming. So then Mia acknowledges that by saying, amazing, can't wait to see you. So you already debunked your first lie, because it's like, well, she debunked Mia's first lie because, girl, you said you didn't know she was coming and you had a point of contact. Well, you are the point of contact. So then Andy's reading it where now you have on November the 24th at 1:39 p.m. Stacey saying, "Happy birthday, beautiful. I'm here in Miami ready to celebrate you." Girl, Mia didn't respond back to Stacey until November the 25th at 12:14 a.m. saying, "Queen, where are you, love?" Girl, I would have been pissed. That's a full day. That's a full day that you did not respond to this lady. That's 11 hours that you did not respond to her. Like, that's so disrespectful, Mia. And so now Mia has to take ownership of it. Stacey is pissed. She's like, "You're a bad friend. Like, how dare you do that?" And then Wendy ends up saying, like, "Girl, I think that's kind of messed up because we were not invited. We were not invited. But the people that were invited, you ghost. What sense does that make?" Because nobody else on the cast was invited except Stacey and Jazzy. So I think this is when Ashley ends up asking, "So where was Jacqueline in all of this?" Because you know she Mia's shadow. And Jazzy ends up saying Jacqueline was there. And I spoke to Jacqueline, and Jacqueline basically told me that Mia was only worried about ink. I said, "Oh, girl." And Mia she couldn't say anything because then all of a sudden Mia starts to get emotional and like starts to cry, and like everyone's like, "Girl, what you crying for? Like, this is your fault. Like, what are you crying for?" So then Wendy says, "You know what? I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's just today and I'm feeling this way, but I feel like these tears are fake and you only crying because now we're forcing you to take accountability." And Mia's like, "Well, I'm going through a lot and I know I'm not showing up as a good friend, and I'm just like, I'm so sorry." And then Giselle says, "Girl, we all going through a lot, but that doesn't negate you from taking accountability for you not being a good friend to them." And she's like, "I'm taking accountability. I know I messed up." So then Ashley ends up saying, "Mia, I know you to be a good friend, and here lately you haven't been a good friend." So that's when she reiterates that I've been going through a lot, and it's been a rough year for me. And then Kiana says, "Girl, it feels like it's been a rough 3 years for you." I said, "True." Because, girl, you've been going through a lot for a while now, sis. So next thing you know, I think that's when this segment is over. You got Giselle holding Karen's poster being like, "What would Karen say about this? This is crazy." And so Jazzy is escorted off the stage, and then they end up taking like a 10 or 15 minute break. So everyone's like going to the bathroom, retouching up their makeup. So then Mia goes to Stacey's room. While in Stacey's room, you got AJ curling up her, her synthetic wig, and you got Jazzy in there too. And Mia's trying to apologize to Stacey and Jazzy, but they don't want to hear it because Stacey lets it be known, "Girl, you didn't respond to us until we got back into the DMV. Like, you blatantly ignored us in Miami. And I feel like the only reason why you're apologizing now is because now you look bad and you feel some type of way." And so Mia gets frustrated and upset because she feels like they should just take it like for what it is. But Jazzy and Stacey are like, "Girl, this ain't enough." Because it's like a little too late. It's just a little too late. Like, girl, it's too late, okay? So she goes walking out of the room in tears, and she's like, "I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving." And she goes into her dressing room, and are you here? I said, "Mia." That was part one. I enjoyed it. I giggled and laughed the whole way through. Like I told y'all, I'm not taking none of this stuff personal. Like, it's just a TV show. But Mia crying in that dressing room, and I've been telling y'all this, my two predictions was either Mia was going to storm off that stage because she couldn't handle everybody wrapping her up, or she was going to have a breakdown in her dressing room. And girl, I'm 2 for 2 because she crying in that dressing room. And next episode, you see that lady walk off the stage being like, "I can't do this anymore." Girl! This was a good reunion. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. And as always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in them comments below. Subscribe and definitely share your thoughts with me and like the video. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.